Today, billions of people around the world rely on prescription glasses or contact lenses just to navigate their daily lives. If you are one of them, imagine for a second that you are transported back in time to the prehistoric era, but you accidentally drop your glasses. In a wild, unforgiving world filled with hungry leopards, vicious wolves, and treacherous cliffs, not being able to clearly see a tree just 15 feet away is basically a guaranteed death sentence. So a logical question arises. Shouldn't the brutal, unforgiving mechanism of natural selection have completely wiped out the genes for bad eyesight hundreds of thousands of years ago? If prehistoric survival was truly about the survival of the fittest, how exactly did ancient humans with terrible vision actually survive? The answer will completely change how you view human evolution. Before we can understand how ancient humans survived with bad eyesight, we must first confront a deeply shocking scientific truth. Prehistoric humans almost never suffered from myopia, commonly known as nearsightedness. We often assume that needing glasses is simply the result of a random genetic lottery, an unavoidable biological defect that has always plagued humanity. However, modern evolutionary biology and ophthalmology have revealed that the current global explosion of bad eyesight is not a predetermined genetic destiny. Instead, it is a highly localized modern epidemic. It is, quite literally, a direct disease of civilization. To understand this phenomenon, we have to examine the physical mechanics of the human eyeball. Myopia occurs when the physical eyeball grows slightly too long from front to back. Because the eyeball is elongated, incoming light focuses slightly in front of the retina rather than directly on it. This minor physical distortion is what makes distant objects appear blurry and out of focus, while objects close to your face remain perfectly sharp. But what exactly causes the eyeball to grow too long in the first place? The answer is not primarily in our DNA, but rather in our modern environmental habits. Today, from the moment we are born, modern humans spend the vast majority of our crucial developmental years trapped inside artificially lit, enclosed rooms. We spend thousands of hours forcing our eyes to focus intensely on objects placed just a few inches away from our faces, whether that involves reading printed textbooks, writing on paper, or staring endlessly at glowing smartphone and computer screens. This constant, relentless near work forces the tiny focusing muscles inside the eye to remain in a state of continuous, unnatural contraction. Over time, particularly during the most critical years of childhood physical development, the body physically adapts to this extreme close-range environment by permanently elongating the eyeball. Essentially, our eyes are physically mutating their shape to become highly efficient at reading screens, sacrificing our ability to see the distant horizon in the process. In stark contrast, if you took a modern child who currently wears thick prescription glasses and raised them entirely in a paleolithic hunter-gatherer environment, completely free from books, digital screens, and enclosed walls, there is an overwhelmingly high probability that they would develop absolutely perfect, razor-sharp vision. To truly comprehend why ancient humans had such impeccable eyesight, we must look up at the sky. Prehistoric humans did not have enclosed buildings, tightly sealed windows, or any form of artificial indoor lighting. From the exact moment an ancient child was born, their entire existence took place under the vast, open canopy of nature. They routinely spent 10 to 12 hours a day bathed in intense, natural outdoor sunlight. This was not just a cultural lifestyle choice, it was a profound biological mechanism that directly dictated and guided the anatomical development of their young eyes. Modern medical researchers and optometrists have recently made a completely groundbreaking discovery about how human vision actually develops during childhood. They found that continuous exposure to bright, high-intensity outdoor sunlight stimulates the retina to release a crucial, powerful neurochemical called dopamine. In the highly specific context of eye development, retinal dopamine acts as a strict, natural biological brake. It aggressively signals the outer shell of the eyeball, the sclera, to stop growing, effectively preventing it from elongating into the distorted oval shape that causes nearsightedness. Because ancient children were constantly flooded with brilliant natural sunlight, their internal retinal dopamine levels remained consistently high. This guaranteed that their eyeballs maintained a perfectly spherical shape throughout their most vulnerable developmental years. But it was not just the intense sunlight that protected their vision, it was also the exact physical way they actively used their eyes every single day. Ancient hunter-gatherers lived in expansive, open environments like sprawling savannas, dense jungles, and vast, rolling tundras. To simply stay alive, their brains and eyes were constantly forced to scan the distant horizon. They had to instantly spot the subtle, terrifying movement of a hiding predator in the tall grass, or carefully track a fleeing gazelle from miles away. This continuous, vital, long-distance focusing kept the delicate ciliary muscles inside their eyes completely relaxed, highly flexible, and incredibly strong. By perfectly combining a relentless daily flood of retina-protecting sunlight with a brutal survival routine that constantly demanded extreme long-range focus, the Paleolithic lifestyle acted as a flawless natural defense mechanism against poor vision. They did not need prescription glasses because their wild, untamed environment actively engineered their eyeballs for absolute optical perfection. Therefore, a prehistoric human suffering from severe nearsightedness was an incredibly rare, almost non-existent biological anomaly, rather than a normal, everyday occurrence. Even with their perfectly developed childhood vision and endless hours spent under the protective glow of natural sunlight, prehistoric humans were still entirely subject to the ruthless, inevitable passage of time. While ancient hunter-gatherers successfully avoided the modern epidemic of myopia, they absolutely could not escape a universal, age-related biological condition known as presbyopia. Once an ancient human survived into their early to mid-40s, which many successfully did, contrary to the popular myth that everyone died at 30, the natural crystalline lens located inside their eyes began to physically harden and lose its youthful elasticity. This gradual natural stiffening meant that the tiny focusing muscles could no longer easily change the shape of the lens to see objects clearly at a very close distance. By the time they reached their late 40s, looking at anything held just a few inches from their face would result in a completely blurry, frustrating visual experience. Modern humans experience this exact same biological phenomenon today, which is why older adults inevitably need reading glasses just to look at a restaurant menu or a pill bottle. In our highly industrialized, text-based modern society, losing your near vision is a severe, debilitating handicap. We live in a micro-world. We constantly need to read tiny print on legal contracts, meticulously thread small needles, carefully inspect circuit boards, and endlessly scroll through glowing text messages on our smartphones. But prehistoric human survival operated on a completely different optical scale. The ancient world was a macro environment. For a 45-year-old Paleolithic hunter or a respected tribal elder, the physical inability to perfectly focus on a tiny pebble lying directly at their feet was largely irrelevant to their daily survival or their value to the community. What truly mattered for their continued existence and the safety of their entire tribe was their perfectly preserved distance vision. Even as presbyopia severely degraded their close-up sight, their ability to see far away remained brilliantly intact. An aging prehistoric human could still easily spot the terrifying silhouette of a rival tribe approaching from over a mile away. They could still actively track the dust trails of a migrating herd of bison across the expansive savanna, or accurately notice the subtle shift in dangerous weather patterns rolling over the distant mountains. In a harsh, predatory landscape, spotting a deadly threat early is infinitely more valuable than examining a leaf up close. Therefore, the so-called curse of presbyopia was fundamentally harmless in a hunter-gatherer society. It did not threaten their existence, because evolutionary survival violently prioritized spotting the distant lion long before it ever got close enough to become a near-vision problem. While presbyopia was practically harmless, and myopia was incredibly rare, ancient humans were certainly not immune to severe, blinding optical trauma. A violent encounter with a wild predator, a terrible accident involving a flying splinter of flint during stone tool production, or a severe, untreated bacterial infection could easily leave a prehistoric person partially or completely blind. In the unforgiving animal kingdom, severe vision loss is an immediate, non-negotiable death sentence. A completely blind wolf cannot hunt, and a blind deer cannot escape. They are quickly and ruthlessly eliminated by nature. But human beings possess a unique, incredibly powerful evolutionary superpower that completely overrides the savage rules of wild survival: the complex social division of labor. We often heavily romanticize prehistoric survival as relying entirely on the muscular, eagle-eyed alpha hunter constantly taking down massive beasts. But the absolute historical truth is that early human societies functioned like highly intricate cooperative machines. Survival required a massive amount of tedious, repetitive, and deeply necessary background labor that did not require stepping outside the safety of the camp or scanning the distant horizon. If a member of the tribe tragically lost their eyesight, they were not coldly abandoned to the wolves, nor were they viewed as a useless, parasitic burden. Instead, human intelligence and deep empathy allowed the tribe to simply repurpose that individual's remaining physical skills. They were immediately transitioned into vital, stationary roles that relied heavily on tactile sensation, acute hearing, muscle memory, and extreme patience rather than optical perfection. A person with severely compromised vision could sit comfortably by the safety of the communal fire and perform tasks that were absolutely essential for the tribe's continued existence. They could expertly weave complex fishing nets, sturdy ropes, and carrying baskets using only their highly developed sense of touch. They could spend endless hours meticulously grinding tough roots, hard nuts, and wild seeds into easily digestible flour using heavy stone mortars. They could soften stiff animal hides by aggressively scraping them or continuously folding the leather, transforming raw skin into warm, life-saving winter clothing. They could act as the dedicated full-time firekeeper, ensuring the crucial flames never died out, or serve as oral historians, educating the young children through ancient songs and stories. By actively contributing through these crucial, non-visual tasks, a visually impaired human remained a highly productive, deeply valued pillar of the community. In the ancient world, losing your sight did not mean losing your worth. It simply meant a change of profession. To definitively prove that ancient humans cared for the visually impaired, we don't have to rely on optimistic theories or guesswork. We have undeniable, physical archaeological proof. In the 1950s, inside a dusty limestone cave in northern Iraq known as Shanidar, archaeologists unearthed a prehistoric skeleton that would completely shatter our understanding of ancient human empathy. The fossilized remains belong to an adult male Neanderthal, scientifically named Shanidar I, who lived roughly 45,000 years ago. When anthropologists carefully analyzed his bones, they were absolutely stunned by the horrific extent of his physical injuries. He had suffered a massive, crushing blow to the left side of his skull early in his life, which shattered his left eye socket, almost certainly leaving him completely blind in that eye and causing severe, localized brain damage. Furthermore, bony growths in his ear canals indicate he suffered from profound hearing loss, meaning he was partially or totally deaf. As if that wasn't enough, his right arm had been withered, broken in several places, and either amputated or lost above the elbow, and he walked with a severe, painful limp due to a shattered leg and a deformed foot. According to the cold, merciless laws of nature and the popular survival of the fittest myth, a one-armed, deaf, crippled, and half-blind Neanderthal should have perished in the brutal wilderness within days. He could not hunt, he could not defend himself against giant Ice Age predators, and he could not carry heavy loads of firewood or scavenged meat. Yet, by closely analyzing the extensive bone growth and advanced healing patterns around his massive injuries, scientists made a breathtaking discovery. Shanidar I survived his horrific traumas and lived to the unusually old age of 40 to 50 years. He survived for decades after becoming permanently disabled. This physical evidence proves beyond any doubt that his Neanderthal community did not view him as a disposable burden. For years, they actively protected him from predators, pre-chewed his food for him when his teeth severely wore down, shared their precious hard-earned meat with him, and gently guided him through the dangerous prehistoric landscape. Shanidar I is the ultimate archaeological proof that true human greatness was never defined by physical perfection or ruthless strength. It was defined by an immense, enduring capacity for profound compassion and collective care. So, If you are wearing glasses right now, you don't have defective genetics. You simply have a biological system trying to adapt to a modern, indoor, screen-filled world. Our ancestors avoided the myopia epidemic just by living under the sun. But more importantly, when illness or accidents did steal their sight, they were not left behind. The ultimate survival weapon of the human species wasn't sharp claws, thick fur, or even perfect 20/20 vision. It was community. We survived because we took care of each other. If this emotional journey into our ancient past changed how you see human evolution, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you think you could survive the Stone Age. Keep wondering, keep learning, and stay simply ancient.